We're never going to see another guy Shaq's size with his athleticism that was as dominant as him. Shaq should have 5 MVPs. He sees a guy like Nikola Jokic that's not as dominant as him and gets 3 and 4 years. But see, when you historically great, they talk about you as great basketball player, the GOAT, and Shaq is never brought up. And I think a part of him is envious of that.
When we talk about the greatest basketball players of all time as far as the GOAT conversation, Shaq's name is never brought up in that?
Yeah. It's hard for me to put somebody in the GOAT conversation with 1 MVP. Regular season. It's hard, Gil. So we're going to take somebody with 1 regular season MVP and put him in front of people that got 3, that got 4, that got 5. If Shaq would have had, if he'd had my work ethic, he'd have had 40,000 points. Ocho, everyone's family. Okay. Shaq, about the comments that I said last night. Shaq said, you took me sticking up for Shay as jealousy of Joker shows how smart you are and how you say anything to get clicks. That's not what I did. But anyway, so here's the clickbait for you. If I ain't ranked in the top 10 in your profession, then you can't speak. Don't forget, I know what you did to get where you're at. Me jealous sounds like you jealous. I know you're trying to stay relevant by gossiping on your podcast. We don't believe you. You need more people in case you forgot. 4 rings, 3 finals MVPs, top 50, top 75. And to be quite frank, all this success you got still under me. You don't know my work ethic, but according, I work less, but not blah, blah, blah. But anyway, love you too. If you need help making money, it's better ways than gossiping. I'm too old for this ish. Love always. The most dominating big man ever. Never took it serious. Remember, I know you and you know words of Skip Bayless. I'm better than you. Hashtag G14 classification. I have it. You don't. Not in my profession.
Wait, when that happened?
He just about 10 minutes ago.
Wait, Shaq in the chat?
No, he on IG. I've never professed. I've never professed that I was as great as Shaq. But what I will say,
yes, sir,
I got what I got because I worked my ass off. Now, yes, Shaq has been the one that said that he didn't work as hard, he didn't train as hard, he didn't eat as well as he should have.
Right.
Shaq is the one that anytime someone wins an MVP, he talks about how he should have been the MVP over Steve Nash. Now, you guys have heard me speak glowingly. I say Travis Kelce is better tight end than I was. So was Gronk. So was my guy, what's his name? For the Chargers. Antonio Gates, Gonzo, Big Winslow. I'm cool. I got no problem. You know why I got no problem, Ocho, with giving people credit?
Right.
Because I got everything out of my God-given ability. God gave me the ability to do what I could do. But he gave me discipline. He gave me dedication, the way I trained, the way I ate, the way I slept. So this was all I could get.
Right.
Now, I would have felt some type of way if I'd have got these numbers and I half-assed it. But I never half-assed it. Kobe said Shaq should have won and they should have won.
Right.
But my thing is that you can't, and it said greatest characters. It's Shaq, I'm the greatest character. No, am I a top 100 player? No. Am I the equivalent as a football player as Shaq was as a basketball player? No. But what I did do is that I maximized that. And my question, if Shaq and because it's rough on the back. My question is, do you believe that you gave everything you possibly could in basketball? Did you train the way you should have? Did you eat the way you should have? That just goes to show you how great you was. That you allowed your weight to get out of control. The injury started to creep up and you got 4 rings and you got 3 finals MVP.
Yeah. Big JTV, and allegedly or apparently, this is Shaq Week. Or maybe the beef month. Okay, by the way, let me start off by saying this. Like the video and y'all weigh in. Drake won the beef. Family Matters is the best track. I know you're going to start disliking this video. I don't care. Drake won the beef. But who's winning this beef? Shaq versus Shannon. It's complicated. It's complicated. Let's start off the first thing saying that, without a shadow of a doubt, Shannon Sharpe has G14 classification. Shannon Sharpe is a Hall of Famer. Obviously, so is Shaq. Okay? Shannon Sharpe, at his position, for what he was able to do, to revolutionize the position, point blank, period, I think is bigger than, in my opinion, humble opinion, is bigger than what Shaq was able to do. Why do I say this? Because tight ends during the Shannon Sharpe era, you know what I mean? I'm talking about the 90s. They were not looked at as pass catchers, man. There was obviously Kellen Winslow, Ozzie Newsome's. There were exceptions in the league before Shannon came in. But in the 90s, man, tight ends were looked at as positions who were extra blockers on the linemen, because what used to happen is most offenses in the NFL were run-heavy offenses, which would feature a running back. Okay, a running back. It wasn't running back by committee. It was a single back who was down there getting the ball 25 minutes. My mistake, my bad. I had a little burp. But there was a running back out there getting 25 minimum carries per game. 25 carries per game. They were throwing the ball way less. It was not a pass-heavy league. And to really think about it, if you think about John Elway's best target was Shannon Sharpe. See, what we see with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes right now, that's not new. That's not new. What we saw with Gronk and Tom Brady, that's not new either. Shannon Sharpe and John Elway were that original tight end quarterback duo who were burning teams, destroying teams. And what Shaq fails to understand is, if you look at top 5 tight ends of all time, Shannon Sharpe has to be in there. He has to be in there. You know what I mean? And you could argue he's actually top 3 based on the difficulty of the era that he was in. I'm telling you right now, if prime Shannon Sharpe was playing football right now, he would have ridiculous numbers, man. Because the defenses don't play like they played in Shannon's era. In Shannon's era, they would hit you, boy. They would hit. Each team had a thumper. You know what I mean? And there was a different type of game being played. Now, you could argue the same for Shaq. But Shaq was the number 1 overall pick, and Shaq is naturally gifted to a level that it's almost impossible for him to have failed. You understand what I'm saying? He was so physically gifted that he was dominating dudes. But if you look at the history of the NBA, there was a lot of centers that dominated the league, man. Wilt Chamberlain, he was the original Shaq, because Wilt was literally dominating everybody. You know what I mean? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest centers. You know, David Robinson, same era as Shaq. You know what I mean? Patrick Ewing, all these great dominant big-time centers that didn't necessarily revolutionize the game. Maybe Kareem with the skyhook. But if you look at Shaq was not revolutionizing the game. Shaq didn't change the game. But Shaq is, I'm going to say, he's not a jealous guy, but he's a very arrogant guy. And I'm a fan of Shaq, but Shaq is very arrogant. And he's very cocky. You know what I mean? So for him to not recognize what Shannon has done, or what Shannon means to not only the NFL, but the sports in general, that's ignorant. That's also very, very ignorant. Now, in Shaq's defense, Shaq doesn't need to be super, super jealous and envious of a guy like Jokic. Jokic, you could argue, is not really the best center in his era right now. I would argue that Embiid is actually a really, really great center, and they battle it out. I could say that Giannis is actually better than Jokic. I would say that those two. But it's definitely big three. It's a big 3, Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis. And you can make valid arguments for all 3. The thing that makes them different is that Giannis and Jokic have rings. Embiid does not. So maybe there's a bit of separation on that. But when Shaq was in his prime, there was no center looking at him or seeing him. So for this narrative to be coming out that Shaq was jealous or is jealous of Jokic, and that's why he's bigging up Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. It's so stupid, and I absolutely hate it. Jokic would need literally 3 more rings to even get in the conversation of Shaq. He would have to get 3 more rings. Do I know if Jokic will get 3 more? We don't know. Is it likely? We don't know. What we do know is that Shaq has already laid out a resume that's absolutely phenomenal. And when it's all said and done, will Jokic reach that? We don't know. But what we do know is Shaq is definitely a top 3 center. Maybe not top 3. I might be going off too hard. Shaq is definitely a top 10 center of all time. And as great as Jokic has been with 3 MVPs, he's not even a top 40 player of all time. I think he's outside of the 40 range. But only time will tell. Only time will tell. And this beef is petty. I frankly think it's dumb because they're better and stronger together than apart. They're both saying things that are kind of out of pocket, specifically from Shaq's point of view. And I just think that Shaq, as the older man, should have a little more maturity than this to go back and forth with a dude who just has an opinion and gets paid a lot of money for his opinion, just like you, Shaq. So, it's harder to be the bigger man. Ironically, Shaq has to be the bigger man. And you have to take this in mind. Shaq has been doing media longer than Shannon and Sharpe in terms of huge national media. You know what I mean? We'll see how this goes. Let me know who y'all got in the win, Shannon Sharpe or Shaquille O'Neal. And one more point I want to add. Shaq, where's that energy for your ex-wife who's dragging you and saying all type of disrespectful ish, man? Where's that energy, man? By the way, shout out to Mr. 1950 because he talked about this and I 100% agree. Where's that energy for Shanice O'Neal, your ex-wife, who's saying she never loved you, bro? You just have smoke and all kind of disrespect to go to Shannon, who just said his opinion. You know what I mean? Your ex-wife didn't say her opinion. She said her truth, which is one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen. Let me know how y'all feel about that in the comments, man. A woman you done married, had like 5 kids with, who says after, a few years of divorce, she never loved you. Who you set up with a career outside of, you. It's just crazy, man. Big J TV, man. Like, comment, sub, I'm out.